Jackson here, Truthwire News. I'm out running errands again. I like to do this while I'm driving because then I really don't have to focus on like how I look in the camera. I know I've had friends tell me it makes me nervous when you do that, but this is how I roll. So literally, couple things. First of all, the meeting last night, the mix and mingle last night was great. We got to hear from both of our county mayor candidates, and it was good. We had a lot of folks show up, and then they stuck around just long enough, and then I guess they got bored. They really were only there to just show their faces anyway. They really weren't interested in actually being there, and I think you guys know who I'm talking about. They had a bunch of people. There was a bunch of people standing in the back of the room when we all first sat down to listen to all the presentations. And I'm not sure when, but majority of those people standing in the back, they were gone by the time Dr. Ken Berry had finished his presentation and his question and answer, which, by the way, was excellent. So I hope that that's going to be on the Williamson County Republican Party's YouTube channel, because he gave some excellent information last night. But the things that I wanted to talk about while I'm in the car and thinking about it is, as we all know, this issue with the abortion pills and Roe versus Wade going down and some recent developments in our legislature. I wrote an article yesterday. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but if you didn't read it, I kind of came at it from a different perspective than maybe some of the other two sides. We got two sides on our own side, like of conservatives who are pro-life. There's this schism running down the middle of it. And I wanted to address something that to me was, it's a huge issue that sort of encompasses this whole issue. And that's the history behind these drugs that are now available to be shipped in, and we've been working on trying to keep them from getting shipped into the state. The state has done everything so far that it can to enforce well, first of all, they punched a few holes in the total abortion ban that they put in place in 2019 before they realized that we would be living in a post-Roe existence. Then they went to work punching some holes in that ban that they never thought they would, have to actually enforce. And actually what we ended up with was a pretty sturdy, all-out ban on abortion for the most part in the state of Tennessee. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about these drugs that people are getting their hands on and how they're getting their hands on them and why. Number one, let's talk about why they can get their hands on them. We've got two sides. I was going through this terrible spot. It's always going through Brentwood. I wanted to talk about how it is we even have access to this on such a prolific way. First of all, we've got two sides on the conservative side, and they're knocking the stuffing out of one another over this issue. When in reality, the issue was created at the federal level by two Democrats. Bill Clinton, number one, as a parting gift when he left the White House just before George Bush took the White House and actually entered the office. A parting gift from President Bill Clinton was FDA's approval of mifepristone. I think that's how you say it. That's an abortifacient. It's classified as an abortifacient. That was approved by President Clinton's FDA right before George Bush came into office. So 2000. From 2000 until 2020, it was heavily regulated, and part of that regulation was because it's dangerous. There are women, I have a list, and if you want it, I can get it for you. There is a list of women who have died from toxic shock for taking this abortifacient. So, of course, part of the regulations from the FDA's approval was that these women would have to take it in person and would have to be under the revision, or under, sorry, not revision, but under the guidance and a doctor's care, because it could happen to anybody. So you had to take it in person, and your doctor would have to be checking in on you. You'd probably have to have a follow-up appointment the next day. It would have to be, you'd have to be watched very carefully. And for 20 years, it was like this. Then, what happened in 2020? COVID. And they all decided that, of course, the Planned Parenthoods were considered essential, so they were left open. And what happened then was there were temporary rules that were put in place to stop those regulatory measures on this abortifacient drug. Because, you know, everybody has to get access to their abortion. And when you're all locked down and you have to stay away from each other, well, you got to get your abortion pills. So they removed those regulatory measures, and they could start shipping it out all over the place. Okay? Then in 2022, Roe fell. And in 2023, Joe Biden made that deregulation, he made it permanent. So, here's how I see it. The problem was created at the federal level, and right now what we do have happening is we have RFK's FDA reviewing these drugs. The other drug that has been used on occasion is for abortions is misoprostol. That is also used for other things as well. They utilize it to manage things like miscarriage, and it's ulcers. I mean, there's all kinds of things they use the misoprostol for. So that should really be regulated too with regard to intent for its use. But really the misoprostol, the primary abortifacient, that drug, first of all, those pre-COVID regulations need to be put back in place. And apparently the FDA has had a request to review that drug and possibly put those pre-COVID regulations back in place. That would solve a lot of the problems here about those pills being shipped into Tennessee. But also there is a lawsuit ongoing led by the state of Louisiana and 11 other states. I can't tell you which states they are. I would have to research that. But I do know Tennessee's not one of them. I know that. So here's what I say. I say, even if you were to implement these really severe deterrent type of measures in the state, honestly, I don't think that that's how you fix it. First of all, it just creates more death, in my opinion. But we need to fix it where it was broken in the first place. And it doesn't just help states like Tennessee. It helps other states who want to keep this garbage out of their state and truly want to save the unborn, like we all do. We are all pro-life. We are all pro-life. And you can't tell somebody that they aren't pro-life if they don't go along with more severe legal measures that are not maybe something that would necessarily work in the way that they hope that it does, and ignoring all of what could be collateral damage that nobody seems to want to talk about. If you want to talk about that, it makes you somehow pro-abortion, which is total crap. So I just wanted to talk about the history of that, because I'd love to come at this from a rational medical perspective and talk about where it got broken in the first place and how maybe we can try to get that fixed so that we're not having to deal with this down here at the state level where we're beating the tar out of each other when we all basically are on the same page about how unborn life is, all life is precious, but the unborn are particularly vulnerable because they're at the mercy of their mother, they're at the mercy of people who have control over the mother, all of those things. So I wanted to talk about that. I also wanted to talk about, I think it's SB 1958. Apparently they have moved up the committee for that. That's the legislation that would essentially keep you from having the ability to go and sue the state for unconstitutional laws. And maybe it's because our TCA code is riddled with unconstitutional laws, and they're tired of people actually reading it and understanding that and trying to litigate it. They just don't want to deal with it anymore. So they've moved that up from, I think, March 11th. That's been moved up to March 4th. March 4th apparently is the committee or subcommittee that will hear about that law or that legislation and decide whether or not to move it along. So I would recommend that you get a hold of your rep and your state senator and let them know that you would not want them to vote for that because you believe that you have the right as an American to seek redress against your state government for unconstitutional laws that they put into place. So anyway, that's all I really had to say. I love you guys. Go to truthwirenews.com and subscribe, please. That really does help me. Consider supporting me because that will keep me independent and keep me from having to go back to corporate America. And I love you, and I will see you on the other side. Goodbye.